Hi everyone, welcome to my review of F.W. Murnau's The Grand Duke's Finances in 1924. So yes, here we are. We'll go through this set again, early Murnau of course. Well actually, for the first time then, yes. Taboo of course was a single Blu-ray. This of course is the early Murnau set, and all these are Master of Cinema releases. So yeah, it's a really interesting set here. I've really been looking forward to going into it. There's a booklet here. So yes, this one, and I didn't really look into the acclaim too much before watching this, but yeah, this is not really a loved Murnau. In fact, it's actually quite unpopular. It's got like a 6.5 or a 6.6 on IMDb, which I think actually is one of the lowest ones, from Murnau. And yes, people don't generally think too much of it. I couldn't really explain the plot. The Grand Duke, he's kind of heir to this island, and also is indebted, to this Mediterranean island, and it involves many different things, including kind of an inspector on the case, and basically debt repayments. There's also this Duchess, this Russian Duchess, who gets involved in one of the characters. There's kind of a romance going on there, and then of course there's not, and it ends very weirdly and stuff. And yeah, it's kind of a fantasy film at times, just a very odd film, and I'll say straight away, that's all I can say about the plot. The themes, it explores a vast number of themes. Basically, this is very convoluted. To say much more, at times actually, I was struggling to really understand what was going on, and I don't say that too often. But yeah, this film was disappointing, and of course, it's definitely got some things to love actually. Cinematography, as you'd expect really from Murnau. Cinematography is stunning, and the overall production actually, the costumes and stuff, really great here. And yes, I think some of the acting actually is very good, from the main cast. But that's about it really to really praise. Other than that, it's just very odd film, that doesn't really come together, and I don't really think this is very focused at all. This has got 6 acts in the film. It's split up into 6 acts, and of course it's around 80 minutes, just under that of course. Now this is kind of, at times what I was getting from this is kind of a satire, but then it was many different things, but it just, for me, is it a funny comedy or anything? Not really at all. There's a couple of light laughs, but really nothing else. And is it really an engaging drama? I didn't think so too much either. And it's just, as a fantasy film, it doesn't really work too great either. I think it's actually a bit of an underwhelming film from now, and it's kind of, it's sad to say that, but it's just me being honest. I didn't really like this film. I think I didn't dislike it. Didn't hate the film. It did have its charms, but I think overall, it's definitely under par. It's kind of a mediocre film for me. I couldn't say that that I was fully focused on the film. The first half an hour actually really wasn't that good at all. That's pretty weak, because it was constantly on about and it's got a lot of kind of text and stuff, for a silent, and it's kind of mostly talking about all these finances in great detail and stuff, and it becomes very convoluted, and then of course, but after the first half an hour, there is this kind of Duchess that comes into it, and there's kind of like this thing going on, this romance, but then it never ends up for that. In the end, really, I didn't know what was going on there, but while it was on screen, and stuff, and it was kind of a human, and kind of interesting exploration here of humanity, and just overall it's quite compelling. I was actually liking the film for quite a stretch of about 20 minutes or so. This character Philip was involved as well quite a bit. But yes, after that, it definitely takes a dip again. So yes, overall, of course, the cinematography, as I say, is great stuff. Once again, it has a real atmosphere to cinematography, and it's just, in a nutshell, beautiful cinematography. Really elevates, what otherwise is quite an uninteresting film. At least the visuals, really great. It's just wonderful wonderful shots, angles, the framing, within the trees and stuff at some points, especially early on in the film, is really stunning. This whole kind of island, it's set on quite a lot of the film, is wonderfully portrayed. The different, the way the architecture is captured in the film, and just all the sets, actually is really, really great. And I think cinematography is great. The editing is not. For me, I think actually at times it's quite poor. This is really one of the things that adds to the kind of confusion that I had. When watching the picture, I didn't know at times. I have to admit, I didn't know a lot of the time what was going on really. I could put together roughly what was going on, but the exacts, some of the actual characters, was I actually aware, who they were referring to at times? No, I was not. And that is because the editing, and I was paying attention, of course, the editing and just the overall, I think the script, and just the way that the characters are defined, this really adds to the confusion. So a lot of the time, I couldn't really get invested in the characters, because sometimes some of the side characters and stuff, I did not know who was who, and it's just really disappointed to say that the narrative, was at times weak, at its best just average, or fairly interesting, you could say. It doesn't really, it's not a consistent film, there's just segments up and down, and whatever I could get from the film that I liked, I could take, I could be, kind of glad with, but other than that, I could never really follow this film, and kind of consistently say I liked the film, I liked segments, and I loved, the cinematography, the overall visuals, and just, I really liked some of the sets and stuff. It was just really, really great. But other than that, that does not, allow on its own a film to be great or even actually good. A film that I like, because the characters, the narrative, the script, and all this kind of stuff. The actual my investment to the film, and just the way that this, was I following it? Was I really, really actually interested consistently? The answer is unfortunately no. Now, of course, you have got the music added in as well. I can't really comment on that too much. But it just didn't really come together at all, because it just didn't relate, I didn't think, to the beginning or the middle of the film, the ending. It's just kind of, I thought it was quite random, and just very, very, this film is, it's kind of a spectacle at times, but it doesn't balance that with actual, personal connections really consistently with the characters, and overall an arc for us to follow. I wasn't really getting that at all, really, and it has got a kind of a throwaway kind of fight, at the end of the film, just towards the end of the film. I think, it's just problem with this film, and I've seen it, and a couple of people have mentioned it, the very, very few reviews that actually exist online, because it's quite underseen, this film. It comes across as really just silly, and that's the thing. I think because of the blend of comedy and stuff, and what he was kind of going for, but not really. It's not slapstick. This film it's very, very odd. It's not slapstick or anything. It's kind of like a political satire at times, but then it's not. So it kind of and because of the tone and stuff, the very, very light tone, but then kind of theatrical as well in a weird way. It just comes across as a film that doesn't, it's kind of stupid at times. It makes you feel, it's just kind of a stupid film. It's a silly film. It's a farce, and it's a shame. I think it's mediocre. Definitely a best for me. There'll be some people who love the film, which is great. I really envy you, because I really wanted to love this, and maybe say it was an underrated film, or at least really like the film. But of course it isn't a popular one, and I happen to agree on this occasion. On this occasion, it just didn't interest me. Murnau, made a film that I didn't like really. And of course, I really like Taboo. And I love, of course, Nosferatu and Sunrise. We will get to that. But this one, it's just one of the rare occasions I feel probably that Murnau made a film. That I didn't really care for too much. It just didn't work for me. It is one of his earliest films. Maybe he hadn't, but then Nosferatu, that was before this, of course. Everyone knows that, 22. So the fact that I can't really say maybe it's because he didn't quite develop as a personally as a filmmaker until a certain point, because Nosferatu was a fully fledged masterpiece, and of course his style and everything, and the way it's put together, the overall control of emotions and stuff, was flawless in that film. So I can't really say that. It's just the one that didn't work overall. It's quite experimental as well, so it may be down to that. But yeah, it's not a bad film, but I'd have to give it a 55%. A mediocre film for me. Just one really that I can describe as, under par. Definitely not quite sure of itself, and it's not. The visuals and stuff are wonderful. The sets, going for the production and stuff, and maybe some of the atmosphere and stuff. It's got some charming moments, and the stuff I liked was some of these relationships in the middle of the film, especially. But for me, I didn't overall like the film. Not a bad one. I just didn't really care for the film, and yeah, definitely. I would recommend all of Murnau films. Of course, most people would say if you're a film buff and stuff, you have to go and see his films because, wow, Sunrise, as I say in particular, Nosferatu, and I'm sure many more of his films. Great stuff. Wonderful director actually. But this one, just on this occasion, I couldn't say that I would say that many people would love the film. Actually, it's just not a lot to take from the film, other than some of the visuals and stuff, and even the editing, as I say, is a real issue for me. It's very all over the place. It just adds to the confusion. As I say, to sum it up, confusing, kind of flat at times. Bizarre, not in a good way really. And just a very very weird mix of comedy and drama and romance and kind of thriller, aspects and. Yeah, it was very, very odd. Max Schreck is in the film though, if you want to check it out for that as well. And yeah, I had some interesting moments, but overall, I didn't quite like the film. I didn't hate it or anything, but just not one that works for me, really. It didn't come together, and it was just, yeah, it's weird to see a Murnau, and that's praise, of course, 'cause he's such a great director. Weird to see one that didn't really work in so many areas. But yeah. Definitely, of course, massively looking forward to checking out more of these, of course, and yeah, The Last Laugh and all these ones, Phantom especially as well. Really look forward to this, and of course Faust, when I eventually watch that, hopefully soon. Rewatching Sunrise, and of course watching City Girl, all these films, very, very acclaimed and ones I look massively forward to watching / rewatching, of course. So yes, thanks for watching my review.